January 9th. I'm Rim.
And I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we preview Castlevania Portrait of Ruin for the DS and Excite Truck for the Nintendo Wii.
Let's do this. And yet again, our semi-annual holiday, Steve Jobsovus, is behind us.
I don't know what it is with these Mac people. I mean, I understand that Apple makes cool things. And we camped out for like 4 hours for a chance of touching Miyamoto once. But we didn't camp out overnight. And at least we were going to get something. The people camping out overnight to see Steve Jobs didn't get anything.
They got the same thing you could get by going to a website for free. And now there's so many websites mirroring this thing that there's no delay or lag or 404s or anything
God,
like
not
that.
only were people aiming me all of the updates in real time, but someone was posting them in our forums. I was on a website, and Scott and I were talking about them.
Yeah, I was like, dude, why are you posting this in the forums? Everyone can read Engadget just like you can. Do we really need to mirror this thing anymore?
Yes, because obviously if people Google for it, they'll get us.
I guess. No, but we'll talk more in detail about the iPhone and the iTV next week after the dust has settled.
Yeah, on Monday,
Yeah,
Science and
Monday.
Tech Day.
But just let it be known that we are not the biggest fans of these incredibly hyped up events and keynotes and things.
See, part of it I would blame on the fact that we're kind of, I don't know, what's the word? Cynical, maybe a little bit world-weary, a little bit pessimistic sometimes.
Accurately so.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the chance, and actually we failed, we've talked about this before, to get signed things from Miyamoto when he was at the Nintendo store because we, being rational, logical adults, concluded that rather than camping out on the streets of New York City and Rockefeller Center all night, no one would be that fanatical, and if we just took an early train into the city, we could easily get one of the 200 spots. And, well, taking that early train proved that there are a lot of people far more dedicated to far more trivial things than us in the world.
Them people be crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But I remember even last year at IBM, I was sitting there watching some IRC channel where the updates were coming through, and simultaneously my cube mate, cool Korean guy, is sitting there with his back to me, and every time a chat came in on my thing, he'd go like, whoa, whoa, and then I look, and he's looking at the exact same IRC channel.
Why are people just so excited? CES is going on right now. At CES, there are more new and amazing products. I mean, did you hear about the Windows Home server?
Actually, I did, because I read Dig.
It's pretty cool. iRiver came out with a whole bunch of stuff. Samsung came out with a whole bunch of stuff. I heard there was a 100-and-something inch LCD screen. That's what I heard, and there probably is. It's only a prototype, though. But why does, the iPhone, pretty cool, iTV, not as cool, but people make a big deal out of two things as they make out of the entire rest of the consumer electronics industry.
Well, remember, normal people don't even know any of this happened.
Nope. Normal people, they don't even realize that there are new electronics products being entered into the world as we speak.
I mean, while the internet was going crazy, most people were just going about their business.
All right. So it's game day. Forget those technologies.
Yeah, we'll talk about them another day.
A week from yesterday.
Give or take.
Give or take a few hours.
Yeah, definitely give or take a few hours. We've been kind of erratic in putting up the show lately.
All right, so my news. I'll do my news first.
Are you going to do yours first?
Yep. So Second Life. I've never played it. You played it?
You see, I already have what's called a First Life.
Yep, yeah. Well, I haven't played it, and I did a news on it before. Remember about the giant penis attack? Yeah, that was I did that for humorous reasons, but now there's an actual news.
Are you kidding? That was one of the greatest moments in the history of the internet.
Perhaps it could be in the top 50, but this news about Second Life is actually pretty serious and pretty awesome. As you know, Second Life is an MMO, but not really so much the RPG, just the MMO part. It's massive multiplayer online, walking around doing stuff.
It's more like a moo is what I would call Second Life.
Who knows? Whatever acronym you want to use to describe Second Life, I could care less.
But they're all very specific. I mean, mush, muck, mud, moo, all the other ones that don't actually mean anything, and it's object-oriented to a degree. So I would call it a moo.
Perhaps. Anyway, Second Life has decided to open source itself. Now, at first, that seems crazy because, well, they make money with Second Life. If people can just get the code to Second Life, they can run their own servers, run their own clients, and never pay any money to Linden Labs.
Yep, they won't need to buy any Linden dollars.
I guess that's true. But, oh well, some people are going to play Second Life on some other servers and not pay Linden Labs any money. And I guess that's just fine. However, I don't think that's going to hurt them in the long run because, well, how many people are you going to get to play on your pirated, well, not pirated, but completely legal Second Life server? Probably not as many as on the Second Life server. So people who want to play in an environment with other people, they're probably going to need to spend some money to get some Linden dollars to do stuff. And I don't think their revenues will be affected. In fact, I think their revenues are going to be affected positively because of the second thing it says in this press release. Now, most games you play, even online games like Counter-Strike, they don't charge you a monthly fee. You buy the game and you're done, and they make their money from selling you the game. MMOs like World of Warcraft, they sell you the game, and then they make you pay a monthly fee. The reason they make you pay the monthly fee is because in order for this game to work, they have to have a giant server farm somewhere. And that giant server farm is expensive as all hell.
Well, also, they make more money that way because their business model is not give you a great game that when you're done with you quit, but give you a game that will string you along enough to where you'll play for the rest of your life.
Yes. And, of course, you know, even if they just charged like $100 for the game and then they stop charging you, they would still fail to profit because the server farm costs so much. Now, it has often been thought by many smart people, including myself, that, hey, if you could somehow have the MMO, but not need to manage this giant server farm, you could save a lot of money and actually becoming like ludicrously profitable. That's like a $1 jillion idea if you can make it work. Well, the idea itself is not $1 jillion. Anyone could come up with the idea. It's how do you make it work is what's worth $1 jillion.
Yeah, and if you don't, I mean, the idea isn't just, oh, now the hosting's for free, we get more money. Consider that also, say you still spent the same amount of money you were normally spending on your hosting and your bandwidth on content. You'd have the baddest ass MMO ever, and I can guarantee both of us would play it and there wouldn't be any more Geeknights.
And you could also get more people to join because you had so much new content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So having an MMO without needing a server farm or needing less of a server farm is insanely profitable if someone were capable of doing it. Well, open sourcing Second Life is a step on the road to achieving this goal. Apparently, they're developing something called the Second Life Grid, which is a vision. They have a vision. Their vision is that people, because they have the code to Second Life, will run their own servers. And all these servers will somehow connect to form the bigger world that is Second Life. You know, so I might run my little area. And even if my server is a little different than someone else's server, you know, if it works with the Second Life client, people can get to it. And, you know, the rules might be different on my server. There might be flying people or something, you know, because I changed the code. But it still works. It's still Second Life. I mean, what's the worst someone could do with the Second Life code? I guess if they really wanted to, they could go and make a different MMO and charge people to play it. But you can't really do anything to hurt Linden Labs, the makers of Second Life, with the Second Life source code, unless you find some security holes. And
yeah, some sort of way to, I don't know, launder Linden dollars or make things for free and then sell them to people for Linden dollars.
And because of the GPL 2.0, if you found such things, you would be legally obligated to release your source code and how you did it so they could fix it.
Well, no, if you chose not to distribute or allow access to your server to other people, you wouldn't be obligated to share.
But let's say you modified your client to get free Linden dollars on the official servers. You know, you modified the code of your client. And if they caught you doing that, not only could they get you for cheating, get rid of your account and such and such and such, but if they really wanted to, they could take you to court for breaking the GPL, which doesn't happen too often, but they could.
There might be ways around that.
There might be, but I'm just saying.
Especially since you're not if you don't try to distribute it or sell it.
Yes, I'm just saying on paper, they could. Yeah. Anyway, this is way cool because it's totally messes with your mind that, hey, someone's got a product. They release the product. You know, it's free to play Second Life unless you want to do something that requires Linden dollars, but they made it even more free, and as a result, they're going to make more money because now they have all these people helping them to build this Second Life grid, and also fix security holes in Second Life.
Granted,
and
we'll see what actually happens.
we will see what actually happens, but I imagine that Second Life will become more awesome. Because there has been some criticism of Second Life recently in their reporting of the number of citizens. You know, it's like they're like...
Oh, because no other MMO totally blatantly lies about how many people are in their game.
I know, but people are ragging on Second Life about it recently and not ragging other MMOs about it.
Well, the thing is, it's funny how the way MMOs go, since I'd say maybe not the majority, but a very substantial number of people who play MMOs are not otherwise gamers, or at least they don't play a lot of other games. And they tend to look at things like how popular their MMO is. And if the MMO isn't so popular, they might not want to play it anymore. They want to be on whatever's hot right now.
I don't know about that. I think it's
No,
just
'cause
that
early-
I think what it's more like is people are already playing MMOs. They like the MMO that they're used to. You know, and whenever people change MMOs, they tend to not like it, and they tend to want that new MMO to change to be what their old MMO
Well, I
was.
remember in the early days, back when there was a bunch of competing MMOs that were all doing kind of well relative to each other. It wasn't like today where there's the powerhouse World of Warcraft and then effectively nothing else. They would either guard their numbers to the bitter end, kind of like the anime industry, or they'd release the numbers only when they were good, or the numbers would suddenly start disappearing if they started falling.
I think the way where the numbers matter is not to existing MMO players, but to new MMO players. Because you're coming into MMOs, you're right. Like, which MMO should I play? The one that has 1,000 people. Do I want to go and play in a world with 1,000 other people, or play in a world with 1,000,000 other people? And the 1,000,000 other people tends to get the win. Because that's what MMOs are about, is people wanting to go and hang out with lots of other people. And I think also, open sourcing Second Life will just bring a lot of people who want to play with the code now. I mean, a lot of people who probably had no interest in Second Life, now that it's open source, will probably go, ooh, let me look at that source and see what's going on in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even admit, Second Life is probably the closest thing to the world in Snow Crash that we've yet seen.
Perhaps.
And that's really cool to me. What wasn't cool to me was paying money for it.
Yeah. You don't have to pay money for it unless you want to buy anything that requires Linden dollars.
Yeah.
You can just walk around without paying money.
Which wasn't exactly what I was interested in.
No, if you don't pay money, it's just a big chat room. You walk around and talk to people.
Kind of like most MMOs.
Exactly. IRC is free, people. No need to use Second Life.
No. So you got to perfectly emulate the MMO experience. You have IRC open, but you also have to have a bot that's constantly making up names and asking for Gil and shit.
Ah.
And then on top of that, you need spam sex whisper bots constantly harassing you. And of course, last and certainly not least, you got to get a copy of Progress Quest and keep it open in the background at all times.
I already do that. Let's see what level I am in Progress
Are
Quest.
you really still running that?
I'm really still running Progress Quest. I am currently level 76. I am a level 76 enchanted motorcycle paladin. Can you guess what my highest stat is?
I don't know, charisma or strength?
No, my con is 16,457.
Not bad at all.
I am in Act XLVI. I think I'm not going to read off any more of this because it's just stupid.
No, there's an awesome raid coming up. You're going to love it.
Yeah, well, don't make me cast level LV Curse Family on you.
What number do you think LV is, Scott?
LV, let's see.
You don't know, do you?
XL, I think L's 1,000, right? No.
What's M then?
All right, M's 1,000. So L 500?
No.
No, 100?
No.
I thought C was 100.
Yeah, C is 100.
What could L be? 50?
Yeah, L is 50.
All right, so I got a level 55 Curse Family. Why is it? I hate freaking Roman numerals when they go on the 50s. That's always annoying. Anyway.
Well, they go on the 5s too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So my news is kind of it seems like on a semi-regular basis, websites, for various reasons, will decide that they need some publicity. In order to get some publicity, they'll do some sort of top 10 list, like, here's our list of the top 10 games ever. And they almost always will have a generic list that tends to list very popular current things or things that are in the consciousness of the internet. And almost always the number one or the number two thing will be something controversial, even outright wrong. Because even though the list may be crap, it talks about things that people are interested in. So people all link to it and dig it up and have a grand old time.
It's funny because on Dig, I see like 3 different kinds of stories. Like about 15% of the stories I see on Dig fall into 3 categories. Here's my top 10 list of something, how to something, right, or something tutorial, and how to make a how-to list or tutorial that will get on Dig.
Well, a lot of people seem to be following that advice, because right here is a fairly piss-poor list from computerandvideogames.com about the worst game endings ever. Now, when I heard this, the first games I thought of were, I don't know, Simon's Quest.
That's a pretty bad one.
Every Atari game ever. Half of the Nintendo games ever. Karate Kid.
Pretty much any game where the ending was either nothing, just, freaking Dig Dug has the worst ending. Game over.
Well, that's not the end.
That's the end.
No, that's just when you lose. If you beat the game, well, I guess you can't beat the game because an infinite replay.
Yeah, what's the ending of Pac-Man? The game crashes, the end.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the worst ever. The game just crashes.
I know, Kaboom had a pretty good end. If you get to a high enough score, the bomber makes a face at you and the game continues.
That is better ending than Pac-Man. Because the bomber makes a face at you.
So
you
this follows pretty much the straight-up formula. I'm not going to read the whole list, but like number 10, Fable, which I never even played.
Yeah.
Perfect Dark.
See, Perfect Dark, the ending wasn't good, but the game had an ending, which is more than Pac-Man, which it just crashes.
Yeah, they're talking about the worst endings ever. All right, Metal Gear Solid 2, I'll give them that.
Metal Gear Solid 2 was fucked up and bad, but you know what? It's still not as bad as all those Atari games that had no ending at all.
Also, Metal Gear Solid 2's ending, while it might have been bad from a semi-objective, observer standpoint.
Yeah, the plot just crazy, screwed
up.
up.
In terms of watching it or the internet humor about it, it's a great ending. Any ending.
You know what game has
the
worst ending?
What?
World of Warcraft.
What is the ending of World of Warcraft? Because I thought of like 4 jokes, and I couldn't think of a good way to make all of them.
I don't know. I'll just leave it at that.
No.
You know what other game has a really bad ending? Daiku Mud. Daiku Mud is a really bad ending. EverQuest also.
It's got the bad ending of Daiku Mud is a divorce and a bitter, lonely life.
Oh, you know what game also has Second Life has the worst ending ever also?
No, because you can make money off of Second Life.
I would say the ending to Pac-Man is a lot worse than the ending to World of Warcraft. Better. Because at least in Pac-Man, it's like, aha, look at that. I crashed the machine. Only 3 other people have done that ever.
But World of Warcraft has crashed on people before.
Yeah, but not because you were awesome.
Or maybe you were just so awesome.
Pac-Man only crashes when you're awesome and you roll the score over.
All right, so the end of World of Warcraft, I imagine, looks exactly like the end of the South Park episode about World of Warcraft.
That is a bad ending. All right.
But yeah, these endings aren't bad. They're funny bad, or they're controversy bad, or they're bad to make this article popular. But the issue I take is that the number 1 game, the game that they say has the worst ending of any game ever, is Super Mario Brothers. Thank you, Mario. Your quest is over. We present you a new quest. Push button B to select a world.
That is not bad because, number 1, you get to see the princess who you haven't seen yet.
Ever.
2, you feel really good.
Yeah, back then... today, people complain about the end of a game if it isn't basically a 4-hour perfect movie that comes right after an insanely difficult but not impossible awesome square boss fight.
Yeah.
Back then, beating a game was enough. If you beat a game, now it's not the foregone conclusion if I buy a game, I'm going to beat it. It was, I beat it. Holy shit. No one I knew beat it. I'm the only one. Oh my God.
Yeah, think about this. Zelda 1, right? Ending. You walk into a room... and then you stab some fire, right? So wait, first, see, the whole thing about beating a game in those days was that it was so hard to do and so crazy and so rarely done, at least, in the minds of the kids playing, who were the only people playing. Well, not the only, but most of the people playing were kids. That you saw, at the end of a game, there would be like 2 rooms with stuff that wasn't seen anywhere else. It was completely new. So it was like, holy shit, look at that Ganon dude. It's freaking green pig, and he disappeared. Holy shit.
What do I do?
And then you kill him, and you're like, what the fuck is that red triangle? Oh my god, there's a red triangle.
It's the Triforce.
And then a door would open, and you'd go in, and you would see Zelda, who you had never seen. Never. You didn't know what she looked like, and there she was. And there was fire there. in a room you had never seen before, and you could stab the fire and it would go away. Oh my God.
Also, Zelda was wearing a dress the same color as whatever you were wearing.
If you had the green suit, her dress was green. But if you had the blue ring, her dress was white. If you had the red ring because you're awesome, her dress is red.
Well, no, beating the game with a red ring makes you the opposite of awesome because you weren't manly enough to just skip all that and beat the game taking 4 damage from basic monsters.
No, because I was a little kid and I said I have to get every goddamn item in this game. I am not leaving until I get that red ring that I know is in this dungeon somewhere. Anyway, and then you stand next to Zelda and you both hold up Triforces and then text goes by that says stuff that you never read before.
Hey, Final Fantasy 1. I remember when I finally beat that game, and that was after years and fucking years and starting over and getting lost, and oh my God. All the ending is you know there's blue text boxes that pop up whenever you talk to people?
Mm-hmm.
Like 4 of those full of text.
Yep.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game. That's the end. And I was amazed by that.
Yeah, beating games it was like unlocking the final chapter of a book. Imagine if you were reading a book or watching a movie and the very end of it was locked away and you couldn't access it. And after a long and difficult trial, that it tested your skills and abilities and efforts, it unlocked.
Yeah, and not even that. Imagine if it was like that, but most people never even unlocked it.
Yeah, it didn't matter what was in there as long as it wasn't nothing. It was awesome because you got it. There it is. It's like opening a treasure chest and you found some amount of treasure. You're happy.
Wasn't until the Super Nintendo days where like Final Fantasy IV and those games started having these long endings. And then people would think of the ending of a game, the longer it was, the better. And I remember people on the internet going nuts about the fact that Final Fantasy VI, a.k.a. Final Fantasy III, had like a half-hour sequence at the end.
Yeah, it's like people want like this such a great reward for their meager effort of beating the game.
Yeah,
it's
nowadays,
like, hello, the game itself is the reward. Hello, if the game itself isn't the reward and all you want is the ending, just go watch the ending on YouTube.
Remember, though, that wasn't an option when we were kids.
I know, but I'm just saying, if all you want is the ending, go watch it on YouTube. The point is the game itself.
Yeah, but this list is crap, and Super Mario Brothers, not only for the day, but I'd say of all video games ever, if you average the ending of every video game ever, especially if you weight that graph based on the difficulty of getting said ending, Super Mario Brothers has one of the best endings ever.
Yeah, especially since after you beat it, you start the game again, but there are beetles instead of Goombas.
Yeah, oh shit.
I mean, playing it now, you go up beetles instead of Goombas. But as a kid, oh my God, the game has beetles instead of Goombas. Whoa, this is crazy. I better pause it and invite all my friends over.
God, I remember how many times when I'm about to kill the final boss, I'd pause the game and call my friends and be like, I'm going to be Zelda 2, bitches. Oh my God. Ah, ah.
I couldn't even beat Zelda 1 without like the support of friends in the room.
God, you would every kid.
It was like the 3rd try on Ganon, and there were some people over my house or a barbecue, and like my brother and some friends were sitting there, and I finally beat it, and we were all like, oh my God.
I remember it was always the eternal race between me and my brother who would beat a game first. And I call my brother
when I beat Mega Man 2 on that like early Saturday morning, and I had to beat it before the cartoons came on.
Yep, I know that
and
feeling.
It was like I tried. It was like my 3rd or 4th try, and I finally got to Dr. Wily, and I'm like, oh shit.
When I was in 4th grade, I used to go home for lunch because I went to a Catholic school, and for various reasons, I lived right next to it. I could just go home for lunch. I remember one day I went home from lunch, and I was playing Final Fantasy IV, which thinking about how long ago that was, that makes me feel really freaking old. But I had to beat that antlion and get to a save spot before my dad drove me back to school. And an argument ensued where my dad's like, you got to go back to school. And I'm saying, no, but then I'll have to do this all over again. That's a fate worse than death. And my dad turns the SNES off and drives me back to school.
That's right.
That was one of the worst things that ever happened to me.
You live a bad, sad life. I can tell which thing of the day you're doing.
Ah, yes, you can indeed.
What's the name of that song?
That'll be Pachelbel's Canon in D. You might recognize it from such hits as Every Goddamn Song in the World.
Yep.
Everyone's heard this song. Everyone knows this song.
Whether you might not know that you've heard this song, but you have heard this song.
So, there's this comedian. You know, he's one of those guitar comedians. Kind of like how Dana Carvey used to do that.
Yeah, he's like some hip college guy or something.
Yeah, so he gets up there and he's doing, stand-up comedy with a guitar. And this is a clip of probably the end of his long bit, because this is definitely kind of a...
It's most definitely the finale, because he says as much.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the home run here. This is his best bit. And basically, he just bitches about Pachelbel and Pachelbel's Canon in D. And, I don't want to ruin anything, but I'll see you in hell, Pachelbel.
Pachelbel.
What more can I say? The song is ubiquitous, and the stand-up humor is hilarious.
Yeah, the feeling I get from the guy is that he's probably not my favorite comedian in the world, but this bit is a funny bit, especially if you understand music a little bit.
Somebody's going to get
All right. I don't want to talk anymore about the iPhone today, but in the course of my looking at websites about the iPhone, which lasted about 30 minutes today, I discovered a new website that someone was using to compare the size of the iPhone to the size of other things, such as the iPod, the Zune, the Nano, cell phones, decks of cards.
Scott's penis.
My penis. The site is called Size Easy. SIZEASY. They took out one of the E's, so it's not Size Easy. It's just Size Easy.
I see what you did there.
I do. I see what they did there. It's a very nicely designed Web 2.0-ish site, and it lets you enter in the dimensions of a three-dimensional rectangular object, a rectangle with a depth. And then it allows you to compare that rectangle with the depth to other rectangles with depth that you specify, and standard everyday objects such as decks of cards, boxes of matches, credit cards, wine bottles, CD cases, monitors, doors, paper, etc. Now, why is this useful? Well, because we do a lot of online shopping these days, and when you're online shopping, something you'll often see in sites like Newegg or Amazon and such is, what are the dimensions of this object? And it'll say 10 inches by 12 by 2. And it is not always perfectly easy, unless you have a ruler and some paper near you, to picture in your mind exactly how big that is. Is it going to fit on my shelf? You got to get out a ruler. Is it going to fit in my pocket nicely? I don't know. Unless you have it in your hand, you don't really grasp the size of it. And pictures are always deceiving, You look at a picture of the Motorola Q online, and then you see it in the store, and you go, holy shit, that's thin. Online, it didn't look so thin. Holy crap. So, I was bit by this once. I bought the Logitech Z5500 5.1 surround sound system for my computer, which I highly recommend.
Yes, it's a very good speaker system. Scott has
However,
the best sound system in the house, but the subwoofer
is ginormous.
It's bigger than two of our friends.
It is bigger than two of our friends. This thing can double as an ottoman or footrest. Oh, an ottoman is a footrest.
For a second, maybe just because I was reading, of course, more Byzantine history, and
ottomans.
I pictured an ottoman just kind of bent over.
Yeah, if you took the speaker out of it, you could perhaps use it as a Christmas tree stand, but it is very large, and I didn't understand how large it was because I bought it online, and I was just looking at a picture, engaging with my mind the size of it. If I'd actually had access to SizeEasy.com when I bought this thing, I probably would have realized the subwoofer was too large and bought perhaps the next system down with the smaller subwoofer, because as it is, I have turned the bass way down, and if I turn it up, I can make the old lady downstairs believe there is an earthquake. All right.
It's easily 4 times the size of my subwoofer.
Easily. It's 4 times the size of my previous subwoofer, which was the correct size.
So to hit back on the, classic format of our gaming days, we're just going to talk about 2 games we've been playing.
Yep, because we got a new board game we're going to talk about next week.
Yeah, we picked up a copy of Battlelore.
No, don't say it. Oh, well.
Well, you don't want to...
I wanted to be surprised. Oh, well. Never mind.
We don't want to surprise people. We want people to go, ooh, they're going to talk about that game.
All right.
Battlelore is a great game.
Yeah, next week we're going to talk all about Battlelore, which we just got and we have played one time, but we're going to play it right after we're done with this show.
Yeah, so
for the second time.
Let's hurry the fuck along then.
All right. So today I'm going to talk about Excite Truck.
And I'm going to talk about Castlevania Portrait of Ruin for the DS.
Who wants to go first? You want to do rock, paper, scissors?
All right. Rock,
We got both scissors. I win.
Okay.
That means you go first.
What? All right, fine. So I reviewed a long time ago Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow for the DS, which I contend is probably the best of the Metroidvania games. I might get some flack from the people who like Symphony of the Night, but I'm sorry. This is just a fantastic freaking game. And the fact that it's portable and that I can just stop playing and save at any moment was just perfect. Portrait of Ruin is not as good as Castlevania DS. I'll say that right now. It is not that good compared to that game. However, it's right there under it. It's still a great game on its own.
You didn't really play the GBA ones, did you?
I have played them, but I've never owned them or played them for more than a few minutes.
See, the thing is, they've got this cartridge that has the first 2 GBA ones on it, and they didn't include the third one. So it's like if you can get all 3 of them on 2 cartridges, but not on 1, it's sort of annoying.
Well, if you like, I'd recommend everyone who has a DS to get Castlevania
if you
DS.
like the Symphony of the Night GBA style Castlevania games, you should pretty much just buy them all because none of them are that much worse or better than any of the others.
Though if you haven't played many of these games, or if your idea of Castlevania is a game that has a Belmont in it, then I'd suggest you get Castlevania DS and try it. If you like it, get Portrait of Ruin. If you like both of them and you want more, go get all the GBA ones and Symphony of the Night and all that, because they're still all really, really good games. I'm not knocking them. Don't even consider the possibility that I'm knocking those games.
They're just, it's just more of the same, though. Don't expect, something revolutionary and new and better.
Yeah. But
it's like if you like Final Fantasy IV, play Final Fantasy VI. It's more of the same, mostly.
So Portrait of Ruin is, like all these games, it has kind of a gimmick. And unlike Castlevania DS, where the gimmick was you draw these seals on the screen to seal in the bosses after
Oh, good,
because
because I hated drawing those seals. That was annoying.
I kind of liked it, actually.
Oh, all right. I thought it kind of like I was trying to whip the boss, and then all of a sudden I had to pull the stylus out and draw on the scrn.
Well, one, I didn't pull the stylus out. I just used my finger.
I eventually used my finger, but I don't like using the finger.
See, to me, it added this element of, like, I'm fighting, and suddenly this thing comes up, and now it's panic mode, because I've already wasted 2 seconds going, what's this? Oh, right. And then I try to draw it before the boss comes back, and fighting some of the later bosses, I'd have to redraw that thing like 7 times.
Oh, I never had to do it that much. You suck.
Well, anyway, Portrait of Ruin, the gimmick, they don't use the stylus really at all. They removed all that from the game, which is probably good, because a lot of the DS uses of the stylus were kind of gimmicky. It still uses the 2 screens the same way, but the new gimmick is that you control not 1 person, but 2 people.
Oh, I hate that, because then one person always ends up doing something you don't want him to do.
See, now you might think that, because every game I've ever played where you control 2 people was either move one guy, switch to the other one, move that one, switch back, and it just becomes an annoying, hellish game, like that Vikings game for the SNES.
Well, there are some games that do it okay, like Double Dash, where, they draw 2 characters on the screen, but really, you're controlling 1. Like using the Ice Climbers in Smash Brothers, not so annoying.
Yeah, but games like that Viking puzzle game for the SNES.
Yes, or the Caveman puzzle game for the TurboGrafx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way this game does it is, remember in Castlevania DS, you could hit X to switch between your 2 loadouts, which was great.
Oh, that was really good, yeah.
Like, that's what made that game for me, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love tweaking inventories, and that let me double tweak my inventory.
And the inventories are easy to tweak and not complicated or annoying.
This game doesn't throw away any of that stuff. Plenty of weapons. In fact, it uses the inventory even better in that now it's not like the other game where you just use the biggest, heaviest weapon all the time. Skeletons, say, are weak against crushing weapons, but they're strong against swords. And trees are weak against axes, but strong against maces. And you got to keep switching up weapons depending on what you're fighting. And unlike the other, DS where it didn't really matter, just use the strongest weapon you can reasonably deal with, you got to change weapons and really think about what situation you're in and what weapon would best deal with that.
Well, is it easy to change them, or do you have to go to the menu, come out?
Well, to change weapons, you've got to go to the menu and come out. But you don't really have to change weapons much within a screen or within one fight.
All right.
Like, for an area, you'll figure out, all right, I should really be using a halberd for this part.
Okay.
But hitting X, instead of switching an inventory, switches between the two characters. Forget the names, whatever. The plots of Castlevania games are pretty much just stupid at this point.
Beat Dracula, please.
No, it's never even Dracula. It's always beat this other guy.
All right.
And Dracula's around. There's some funny bits in this game where Death, who apparently in the Castlevania universe now is good friends with Dracula. You're in Dracula's castle to fight this Bronner guy who's taking it over. And Death appears, and you're like, crap, we gotta kill Death. And Death is like, hey, what are you doing here? And you tell him, and then he's like, wait, what? I better go look into this. I don't like anyone other than Dracula being in my castle. But hitting X switches between the two characters. And the one character is the same effective guy from DS. Run around, pick weapons, look cool. The other character is this girl who's a magician. And her set of weapons is totally different. You get books. And the first book you get is an encyclopedia, and you just hit people with it. Straight up.
Okay.
But the later books, like now I got Don Quixote. And when you open it, a knight charges out at a windmill and does fire damage.
Oh, that's okay.
And all the books are just kind of cool and neat. And in addition, she, instead of stealing soul whatevers from enemies and casting them, she collects spells. Or you can just buy spells, and she straight up casts spells. You can
Are the spells useful?
Yes.
Okay.
You can also hit A to bring your ally down. Now they're both on the screen. Your ally will follow you in a very rational, realistic, non-annoying way. If it gets stuck, it just teleports to where you are immediately, so there's no dealing with that. And it just generally fights. If it takes damage, you don't take hit point damage, you take magic point damage. So even if the game fucks you and it gets stuck on a monster for a minute, it's not just going to kill you, you just lose your magic.
How do you get magic back?
Same as every Castlevania game, tonics, waiting, or hearts.
All right, waiting. Okay, not bad. You just kill all the bad guys and stand there for a while.
Now, there's also a lot of stuff, like, the puzzles will often involve using both people. And you can go stand somewhere, summon your ally, but hold down an A at the same time. They'll stay there. And then you can go off and do business and then switch back to them. Or if they're both on the screen at the same time and you want to switch, you just trade places with them. You're controlling the other guy who might have been halfway across the screen. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but suffice to say, the mechanism of doing that works about as well as you could expect, which is far better than I had hoped. And also they removed a lot of the killing monsters, farming them to get their souls to upgrade weapons.
Thank God. That was the only bad part of that Castlevania DS was you had to get all these souls, and like you'd want a particular soul from a monster, but you didn't get a soul every time you killed it. So you'd end up like leaving a screen, coming back, killing the monster. I remember there's this one monster had a really good soul that let me throw axes. And I just kept leaving the screen, coming back, killing it. Leaving the screen, coming back, killing it for like 30 minutes until I had full maximum level on that soul.
See, there's still some of that. I mean, you can level them up, but it's not as annoying. And also, you don't really care, because the main thing is you don't have to do that to upgrade weapons. Instead, you just get better weapons.
Where do you get them?
You can find them, you can buy them, or there's an interesting thing they added where you can talk to the guy who's the voice from Soul Calibur 2. And
wait, which voice from Soul Calibur 2?
The narrator.
Oh, okay.
And he'll give you quests, which range from collect these 3 items to do a Hadouken for me right now to almost die. And he'll give you things. And you can get special weapons from him, special items from him. You can also learn a lot of techniques from him to where during the game you have all the normal Castlevania crap. You can also do Street Fighter 2 style combo attacks, which really seems to add a lot to the game. I mean, I'm running through an area fighting guys with swords. Suddenly there's one skeleton. Instead of, going into the menu, switching to a mace, I just do kind of a double Street Fighter 2 super move, and my guy kind of jumps at him and kicks him. It's really fun.
I'm still trying to think of something the guy from Soul Calibur 2 said. Oh, he always said things when levels started, like...
like a sacred quest, a master key.
Yeah.
Random words.
Random words before your battle. Fight!
Yeah, well, he says stuff too, and he might be a Belmont or something. I haven't even read the text. I don't even care anymore at this point. I run into plot
I just
stuff.
want to play to hear the guy's voice now, because I'm going to go look and see who that is.
Yeah, we should. We should try to interview him, I guess.
He's a voice actor we know, right? Watch, he's like our best friend.
Well, he probably makes at least $1 million space dollars a year.
Probably.
So, I mean, the game is pretty much just a standard Metroidvania with a bunch of little gimmicks that make it interesting enough to where even if you're tired of all the same old, there's just enough new stuff to make this interesting. I haven't beaten it, though I must say that it has so far the best boss in any Castlevania game ever.
Oh, really?
Other than
Better than a completely average vampire bat from Castlevania 1?
Why, in fact, one of the bosses is a giant, and by giant, I mean you can't see it all on the screen at one time, ball of naked, dead human bodies.
Oh, yeah, you showed me that.
Now, not only do they fall out of it and wander around trying to attack you by the hundreds, but if you hit it with a mace, you shake just hundreds and hundreds of them off of it. And it's dripping blood and screaming the whole time.
That's pretty good right
It's
there.
quite fantastic.
All right, want me to talk about Sight Truck now?
Yeah.
All right, so one of the launch games for the Wii was Excite Truck, and people are like, all right, they're obviously just stealing the name from Excite Bike, and it has nothing to do with Excite Bike because it's trucks.
Well, surprisingly, I don't think many people made that connection.
Yeah, that's kind of scary also.
Kind of like the Beatles.
Yes.
Beatles.
Yeah, anyway, Excite Bike does have an connection to Excite Truck, which I will explain. Anyway, and they looked at this game, and it looked, before I got it, I looked at it, and I said, all right, that's obviously just a launch game. It's not the greatest game. You drive a truck. It might be fun, but there's not going to be too much to it. I'll buy it anyway. And I did. And I must say, it's actually one of the better Wii games that I have. And I've got like 6 Wii games. Actually, you know what? Next to Zelda and Wii Sports, I think it's, 1, 2. This is the third best Wii game there is right now.
Yeah, well, I mean...
That I have, and I have 6 Wii games.
It's better than Monkey Ball.
Well, anything's better than Monkey Ball. Monkey Ball's ass. All right, it's not perfect, though. Anyway, in Excite Truck, you drive a truck. You push 2, which is A. If you hold it like an NES controller, right? And 2 is go, and B, A is go, B is brake, even though it's 2 and 1. You tilt the controller left and right to steer, and that actually works really well. I mean, at first, you're going to notice yourself doing it, and you're going to have a little trouble. But, I mean, at this point in the game, when I play it, I don't even realize I'm doing it.
Yeah, Scott says at first. We're talking like 30 seconds, and then you forget.
Yeah, it's like I completely forget that when I'm playing this game, I'm not steering left and right with my thumb or with a wheel, but I'm actually just tilting this thing back and forth. I don't notice it when I play, but I do it because I'm really good at Excite Truck suddenly, It's really crazy. So, while a lot of the fun of the Wii is moving the controller, in Wii Sports, you're very conscious of the fact that you're swinging the Wiimote around. In Excite Buck, you are tilting the Wiimote and using it full on for all your steering.
Excite Buck?
Excite Buck?
I think you did.
Whatever. You're not conscious that you're doing it once you have learned the skill.
Which, that's definitely the failing of Monkey Ball, is you never are not acutely aware of the fact that you're manipulating this strange and foreign controller.
Yeah, I think it's because Monkey Ball handles it very poorly.
But to me, because Scott's played Excite Truck a lot more, but from what I've played, the one observation I can make about the game, which is really the only thing I can say about it, is that the game seems like a typical whatever racing game until you go airborne.
Yes. See, now, you can tilt the controller left and right to steer left and right. But when you hit a jump, you pull back on it to get some more air, or you pull forward, you push it down forward to, go down for the ground. And a lot of the game is flying. A whole lot of the game is flying. I mean, you saw that Excite Bike speed run that we put on the other day where the guy just hits the jumps and flies. That's what Excite Bike was all about, was hitting those jumps and jumping over shit.
Yep, landing at the right angle, bouncing properly.
Yeah, was leaning forward and backward, hitting the ramps with the right speed, and getting huge distance off of them. Excite Truck, same thing.
But it does it so well.
Oh, man, the execution of the jumping in this game is so perfect. When you get big air, the music will fade out. Because this game has some pretty average, but not painful rock music going on and engine noises. When you get big air, the music volume will go down. And the game will kind of slow down. And your car will be way up in the air. And the camera is always in just the right position. It's like they didn't try to do too much with this game. But what they did, they perfected absolutely. The camera's perfect. The controls are dead on. The music isn't annoying. The tracks, while there's only 6 or 7 different environments. You know, all the tracks are very interesting, and some of them are, you know, very difficult and fun to do. The thing is that's bad with this game is, I forgot to tell one thing. Boosting. Remember, if you ever played Excite Bike, you push A to go, you push B to go and to normally and A to boost, right? To go better.
Or wasn't it the other way around?
I don't remember.
Me either.
In Excite Bike, the original, one button was just go. The other button was go faster. But when you went faster, you started to, your bike started to heat up. And if it reached a certain point, you would pull over to the side of the road because you were overheated. And you would have to push A whole bunch of times in order to get back on your bike. Or you'd have to wait for it to cool off, and then you could go again. So you wanted to boost, but you couldn't do it too much, you overheat. Same thing in Excite Truck. You have a boost meter. You push the arrows, which you're not using them for steering, so you push them to boost, which you're pretty much going to boost as much as you want. And there's water that you can drive into to instantly cool off. So if you're on a track with a lot of water, you're going to be boosting a hell of a lot. You can also boost at the the beginning of jumps with perfect timing to get these turbo jumps, and that's how you're going to go fast and get big air. And if you land nicely, you get it'll say nice landing, and you get a free boost that doesn't heat you up. And
you'll be amazed when you start jumping around, just the feeling you get from being airborne.
Especially when you unlock some of the cars that have a very high air statistic. I mean, the cars have 4 stats, and they don't matter so much except for the feel of the car. None of them are really unbalanced until you get really good at the game. Then you unlock the second set of cars that are the better cars, but all those are equal as well. But the cars that have big air have big air. You can fly over large portions of the track if you hit jumps in the right way. So yeah, it has the same boosting mechanic as Excite Bike. It has the same jumping mechanic. It has the same cool off when you hit certain things mechanic. It's got, if you crash an Excite Truck, you have to push one button really rapidly. And if you do it rapidly enough, then you'll be back on the track and going really fast. You'll get a free boost, which is just like Excite Bike, where you fall off your bike. You have to push the button really quick in order to make the guy run faster to get on his bike again. So while you might not, the connection with Excite Bike and Excite Truck might not be obvious to the casual observer, it is very much in the same vein and everything. The problem with Excite Truck is that perhaps its most promising aspect, the multiplayer, is kind of bad.
You see, Scott was playing the game a lot more than me, and I finally sat down and, first time I ever played, I'll play some multiplayer with Scott. And I beat him every time we played. And even I had to admit that I was not racing nearly as well as he was. So why was I winning?
Well, the way Excite Truck works that is different from Excite Bike. Excite Bike was all about coming in first place. Go as fast as you can. Excite Truck is also about going as fast as you can, but it is also about collecting stars. You collect stars by doing various things, such as stars, right. If you drive near trees but do not touch them, you get stars. If you do it for a significant amount of time, you get more stars. The most stars you can get at once is 5. So let's say I drive near a tree and then I'm back on the road. I'll get 1 star. It'll say tree run, 1 star. If I drive through a forest and I don't touch any trees, it'll be super tree run and I get 5 stars. If I keep driving through the woods and I keep not touching any trees, it'll be super tree run, and I'll get 5, 10, 15 stars, and that's how you get a lot of stars. And it's not just driving through trees. Getting big jumps, that gets you stars. Sometimes rings will appear, and you can jump through them. That'll get you stars. Crashing into other trucks, you crash into them hard enough, you can get a super car smash, 5 stars, etc., etc. There are many ways to get stars. And there are many ways to modify the track. There are exclamation points on the track. If you hit them, the track changes, usually giving you opportunities to get more stars. In the one-player Excite Truck, coming in first gives you 50 stars. So while it is advantageous to drive through trees and jump high, etc., it is much more important to come in first because, 50 stars. And in the one-player mode, you're trying to unlock the next track, and there is often a requirement, get 110 stars on this track in 2 laps, and then you can have the next track. So that 50 stars is pretty big. In the multiplayer, it is also a game of collect the most stars. Whoever gets the most stars wins. But coming in first gets you a measly 15 stars.
So Scott would win, And
by a lot.
Then I'd be like, I don't know, 15 seconds behind him. Yet, because I was reckless and crashing into things and flying over trees and flying through trees and drifting all over the place because I wasn't steering so well, I'd have like 80 more stars than him.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, once you beat the track, you get a star for like every second that the other guy doesn't finish. So if I beat Rim by 20 seconds, I get 20 more stars. And that makes up a little bit for the fact that I'm not getting 50 and
But
only
it just
15.
didn't even matter.
But it didn't matter because I was driving very fast on the road and getting big air. Rim was driving very slowly through a lot of trees, which got him a lot more stars. So even though he drove...
Well, either that or I was driving fast and constantly crashing into things.
Yeah, crashing actually gets you a star or two if you get a nice crash. And it also, crashing lets you get back on the track with a nice boost. I mean, very often crashing can be a way to come in first place. You know, if you do it at strategic moments in strategic places. You know, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've crashed while in second place, smashed that button, and then it puts me back on the track in first place. So the multiplayer is sort of not fun because it doesn't reward you for driving well. It just kind of rewards you for driving poorly.
Yeah, I wish they at least had... I mean, I can see why a lot of people like the Excite Truck multiplayer in that for people who aren't very good at the game, it makes it very fun.
Oh, it sure does.
I mean, it's still fun to play. Even though winning or losing doesn't mean anything, it's still fun to race against someone.
Mm-hmm. The other problem with the multiplayer is, number one, it's sort of a combination problem. The screen is split in half, obviously a necessity, but the controls are not the same. You know, I talked about how in the one player, it's so perfect the way you handle the car and where the camera is at all times. Not so much in the multiplayer. I mean, I would drive in the single player on a track with a car and do it amazingly. The same handling on the same track and the same car in multiplayer, no dice. You know, you're freaking flying all over the place. The car's much looser, much more difficult to drive. Also, it's much more prone to crashing. I mean, I'll play one player and I'll hit a big jump and land on a rock and keep going. In versus mode, if you touch something a little bit, your car explodes and crashes. It is no give at all. Where first play in single player, you can hit the car pretty hard against some stuff without completely killing yourself. So it gets really annoying for anyone who's really good at the single player mode to play the multiplayer mode. You just get upset at yourself and you get upset at the game and it's not as fun. However, that's okay because the single player mode actually has a lot to offer. There's a lot of tracks. There's a lot of cars to unlock. The difficulty increases easily and gradually from a very, from a very low level to a very difficult level, and the game is constantly rewarding you with new tracks and new things to experience. So as long as that single player remains fun, you're probably going to have something more to do. You know, I thought the game was going to run out once I beat Super Excite mode, and it didn't because I still have another mode to unlock and a lot more cars to unlock.
Yep. I imagine we'll review at least Portrait of Ruin more thoroughly in the future after, we beat them and we both played them and such.
Yep. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers the side track. If you have a Wii and you're looking for a game and you like racing at all, and if you're not interested, if the lack of multiplayer isn't going to upset you too much, Excite Truck is worth whatever they're charging for it.
Yeah, it is definitely one of the top games to be out on the Wii right now.
Yeah, and even if, if it's still $50 and you're not too excited about driving a truck and hitting big air, which is a whole lot of fun, if you wait till it's $20 or $30, then you should definitely buy it. No matter
hands
what.
down.
There's no reason not to.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontroadcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Odeo on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.